Hey guys, it's Pick'em MMA here, and today we're going to be talking about this UFC 287 card. I'm pretty excited about this card, and I do hope this card goes well for us, betting wise. So let's talk about the first card here. Um, the first fight on this card is Sam Hughes versus Jacqueline Amarim. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And so let's see the records here. Sam Hughes has been in the UFC for a while now. She's had, I think, over a couple fights in the UFC, and she came in with a lot of hype, in my opinion. She was the favorite a couple times, and she lost those fights. And overall, I was not that impressed by her. As you can see here, she did lose to Luca Bume. Yeah, I think. Yeah, Luke Bume. And she lost by decision here, unanimous decision, which isn't a good look for her. And then her next fight, she lost to Luena Pinheiro, who was 9-1 at the time, by another unanimous decision. So she's pretty much getting dominated in these fights. But she did win the next two fights, and the next fight with her was against Estela Nunez. Um, yeah, she did win this fight majority decision. Not really that impressive though. And the next fight was against Elise Reed. Yeah, this fight she did impress me a little bit. She won this fight by TKO, elbows from mount. And after that, she did lose uh, her last fight, which was against Pereira Rodriguez, who was undefeated. For this fight, I have Jacqueline. She's undefeated right now, 6-0. She's won all her 6 fights, and most of them by submission. Um, this is her UFC debut, I think, and she hasn't fought the best competition so far. I would say she has fought in LFA and got a win over 0-0 fighter Thaisa Gandhi by submission, like, and she got a win over Megan Owen, who was 1-0 at the time. She got a win over her by TKO KO with punches. Then she got another submission win over Lovit Young by knee bar. Yeah, her jiu-jitsu game is pretty solid, I would say. Like, she's the more dangerous fighter on the mat in this fight over Sam Hughes. And I did pick her in this fight by submission round 2. I do think Sam Hughes is gonna shoot in for a lazy takedown and get a locked in submission. And as you can see, like, most of the Tapology community did pick Amarim by submission, 63% by submission. Wow. Um, Betting wise, I would maybe bet this fight. Um, I don't think a finish is likely here because most women's fights do go the distance. Betting wise, I would still go with Jacqueline Amarim. More than likely by with the money line is probably the safer way, I would say. But if it wouldn't be bad to sprinkle her by submission in this one. I think Sam Hughes is gonna get submitted here. Let's go to the next fight now, guys. The next fight is Steve Garcia and Shailene Nurdenbecke. Becky, I think that's how you say his name. And this fight, Steve Garcia did get a win over Chase Hooper, and he was a big favorite in that fight. I mean, he was a big underdog in that fight. Sorry for that. His boxing is pretty crisp, but his ground game is not all that impressive. If you can defend some takedowns here, I think he would be alive in this fight. Like, he does have some power, but that win over Chase Hooper, like, I'm not really impressed by that win. As we all know, Chase Hooper is not a striker. Um, he's mainly a grappler. He's still pretty young in his career. Um, but yeah, that was impressive though. He still got a win over Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper was like a minus 400 or minus 500 if I remember correctly. So I do have a Northern Becky here by decision. I think this fight's gonna be pretty competitive. Um, he could get a finish in the later rounds, maybe by submission or ground and pound TKO. Um, he's had a lot of fights outside UFC. Pretty good record at 39-10. He's from China. Yeah, he got a win over um, Sean Soriano. Pretty good win, decision. He lost to Joshua Kulebao, who is on a pretty good win streak right now. We just saw him fight like a couple weeks ago, I think. Yeah. Then we saw that was in his other promotion in China by submission. That opponent is negative 8-11. Wow. So I mean, he hasn't fought the best competition outside UFC, but he does have pretty good wins in the UFC. He has a win over TJ Brown, he got a win. TJ Brown got a win also after this, I think. TJ Brown is a pretty good fighter, pretty good ground game and jiu-jitsu. So that win was by unanimous decision. And he has a win over Derek Minner. That Derek Minner controversy with James Krause, I don't know if I would count that win as much. That dude really just threw the fight away. I'm not really trying to talk too much about the James Krause situation. But yeah. So I'm not really impressed by that Derek Minner winner much here. But due to Steve's takedown defense and if he had a better takedown defense, maybe I would give him a better chance here. But I would say Northern Beko by decision here. Yeah, this guy's pace and pressure is pretty good, and his cardio also is pretty decent from what I've seen so far. So I got him by decision here, Northern Beko by decision. He is 28 years old right now, 2 years younger than Steve Garcia. So let's go to the next fight here. We have Trey Ogden versus Ignacio Bahamondes. So this fight, Trey Ogden impressed me in that last fight. Let's see the tail of the tape in this fight. So in that Trey Ogden fight, it was against Daniel Gelhuber. Gelhuber was a minus 5 or 600 favorite in that fight. And Gelhuber just couldn't get going. I don't know what he was doing. Maybe he had he was just nervous because it was his UFC debut. But that was a pretty good win by him. Gelhuber was undefeated at the time, and there was a lot of hype on that guy. And he got a unanimous win over him. Pretty good pace. He kept pretty good pace in that fight, and that pretty good strikes. He landed pretty good strikes, and he did eat some good knees in that fight. I think he's got a pretty good chin. So yeah, he's fighting Bahamondes. Bahamondes, I would say, is a much better striker than Gelhuber. Bahamondes' ground game is also pretty good too. Not too bad. He got his last fight he got a win over Rung by submission, who had a pretty good record, 21-4. Wow. And his other win was against Roosevelt Roberts by view kick. That's pretty impressive. And then he lost to John Makdessi, by split decision. He got a win over Edson Gomez with the front kick in the Contender Series, which got him the contract for the UFC. And he got a win over Chris Brown in LFA. He's a pretty big favorite here, minus 290. To be honest, the value on this fight is on Trey Ogden. I would say Trey Ogden is a dog. Like this guy can really like bring it. I did pick Bahamondes by decision, but I feel like I might change my pick to Trey Ogden. Yeah, I'm gonna change it to Trey Ogden by decision. Um, I'm not. It's not that I'm not impressed by Bahamondes, but he is about like 8 years younger here than Trey Ogden. Maybe if you would take a Bahamondes money line is minus 290 at the time, and it's probably even more now. Um, Maybe bet over 2.5 in this fight. Fight to go over 2.5 rounds. I do think Trey Ogden is pretty durable to not get finished in this fight by Ignacio Bahamondes. His loss in the UFC was from Jordan Levitt, who got a pretty good TKO win over another UFC fighter recently. He lost that fight by split decision. Not too bad, I would say. Um, Trey Ogden does have a pretty good submission, but I don't think he's gonna submit a lot of people in the UFC. So I'm gonna go with Trey Ogden here by decision. Let's look at the next fight, guys. Um, Also for Trey Ogden and Ignacio Bahamondes, I think the prop bet on Trey Ogden by decision is probably the safer and more. You're gonna get more juicy odds on this. So if you are gonna sprinkle some money on Trey Ogden, I would I would do it by decision. I don't see him finishing Bahamondes here. Uh, so the next fight, let's see. The next fight is Cynthia Calvillo versus Lupi Godinez. I am gonna go with Lupi Godinez here by decision. She lost her last fight to Angela Hill, which was a pretty bad look. Angela Hill is a volume striker mostly, like, but I don't know. Godina just looked off in that fight. But she is fighting Cynthia Calvillo, who's last last 5 fights. She lost to Chukagian by decision unanimous. Then she lost to Jessica Andrade by TKO. Then she lost to Andrea Lee by TKO. Then her last fight she lost to Nina Nunes by split decision. Yeah, I think Lupi Godinez a lock in this fight. I don't normally like to say fighters are locks, but Lupi Godinez is a pretty good play here. So you could probably get a TKO ground and pound here, or a submission here. Like she does have a submission win over Silvana Gomez, Juarez, by armbar. So yeah, she's from Mexico. Also, Mexican fighters are pretty tough. Like they don't usually give up. And she is the younger fighter here at 29 years old and 7 months, while Cynthia Calvillo is 35 years old here. And she also she doesn't have the reach advantage here. Cynthia does have the reach advantage, but I think this fight is gonna go on the mat. Lupi's wrestling is much better here, and she's gonna take this to the ground, maybe find a submission or just grind out the win. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Godinez by decision here. Let's go to the next fight. The next fight is Gerald Mearsart, the veteran, versus Joseph Pfeiffer. This fight is tricky. I don't know if I'm the like Joe Pfeiffer is a pretty big favorite over a guy who's got pretty good wins in the UFC. I think Gerald Mearsart has the most submissions in the middleweight division. It was before it was Damien Maya, I think, or no, Damien Maya fought at welterweight, I think, and then he fought at middleweight for a while. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I did bet against Gerald Meerschaert in his last fight. I did bet on Bruno Silva, which is a mistake, and I found that out real quick. Um, he did knock down Bruno Silva in the fight, and it was a club and sub by guillotine choke. Bruno Silva was on a big winning streak. I think a big win streak in that fight. No, he lost to Pereira, I think, before this fight. So he beat Bruno Silva by submission. That is a pretty big win for him. And before that, he lost to Jotko. Jotko by decision. I can't really hate on him too much for that. His other fight, he beat Justin Stolfus by submission. Wow, that's a pretty good win. Mahmoud Muradov, he beat him by a submission also. And Fabnitsky by submission. Wow. This dude is very dangerous on the mat, and as you can see, Joe Pyfer has only had about 12 fights, and most of them outside UFC. He did lose his Contender Series fight against Stoltzfus due to an arm injury. Then he got another win at the regional SCFFS. Then I think he got another opportunity from Dana White at the Contender Series. Got a win over Ozzy Diaz with a nice TKO. And then his UFC debut, he got a win over Alan Amedovsky. I did put money on him to get a TKO win in the first round, and he did. That was a nice. He's got good power in his hands, but I can't really give him too much credit for that win because Amedovsky does not have a chin. That dude's been knocked out for the last like 4 or 5 fights, I think, by a lot of people in the UFC. So I mean, this is gonna be a real big test for Joe Pyfer. This fight should be at Pick'em. Like Gerald Meerschaert is a good veteran in the UFC. This guy is very dangerous. Well, Joe Pyfer is pretty new. I think Gerald Meerschaert is live in this fight. If Gerald Meerschaert can survive the first round in this fight, I do think he can like wrap up that neck or lock in a submission with the armbar or a guillotine or something. But like Gerald Meerschaert got knocked out by Hamzat Chimaev. I mean, Hamzat Chimaev is like he's a beast. I can't really like blame him too much for that loss. He's been on a roll other than the Jotko decision loss. So like if you're betting, I would say Meerschaert by submission, probably in round 3. Like, cause Pyfer does not have a lot of 3-round experience. Dude's finished most of his fights. So I'm gonna go by Meerschaert 3rd round submission in this fight. He's gonna be a pretty big underdog, I think, by the time the fight starts next week. But if you are gonna bet the money line, I think Pyfer is pretty safe here. But I don't know, it's pretty hard. This fight is pretty hard to pick. It's pretty hard to pick against a dangerous grappler like Meerschaert, against a newcomer like Pyfer. If Pyfer does not get the knockout in the first round, I do think Meerschaert is live. Maybe live bet Meerschaert after the first round. Okay, let's go to the next fight now. The next fight is Carl William versus Chase Sherman. This is a short notice replacement. Carl William took this fight on 1 week notice, I think. Both of these guys, Carl William is pretty impressive. I would say that like this dude is. I'm pretty impressed by his wrestling. at heavyweight, he's got a pretty good pace to also. Well, Keith Sherman, he's pretty bad. I'm not really impressed by this dude. His only win in the UFC is against Jared Vandera, who is also like one of the worst heavyweight fighters I've ever seen. Um, yeah, I would go by Williams by decision here. I do think Carl Williams could get a ground and pound TKO here, because Keith Sherman, if he's like getting worked in a fight in the later rounds, he's like I've seen him give up before. He's lost twice by submission. Once by Jake Collier. Jake Collier is also not that good. And Alexander Romanov. Romanov looked good until his last fight. I don't know what the hell Romanov was doing in that last fight against Volkov. Yeah, I'm gonna go by Carl Williams here. By decision. I think decision is more likely here. But I would not be surprised if he gets a third round ground and pound TKO. Keith Sherman's wrestling defense is really, really, really bad. That's all I need to say about this fight. Let's go to the next fight, guys. Michelle Waterson Gomez versus Luana Pinheiro. I mean, both of these girls are pretty hot. But I'm gonna go with the Pinheiro by decision here. The main reason I'm gonna go with the Luana here is because she's the much younger fighter here. Gomez has taken a lot of damage in her career. She's been in many fights. She got choked out by Amanda Lemos in the last fight, and then before that, she lost to Marina Rodriguez. Pretty good fighters. Her only win was against Angela Hill by split decision. Before that, she lost to Carla Esparza, split decision. Then she lost to Joanna by unanimous decision. And she's 37 years old right now. Like for 115-pound weight class, she's pretty up there in age. I'm gonna go with the Pinheiro by decision here. She's a small favorite here, not a big favorite here. I would put money on the money line. That's what I'm gonna do. Luana Pinheiro money line is a safe play here. Let's go to the next fight. Kevin Gastelum versus Chris Curtis, the Action Man. So in this fight, Chris Curtis has been on a roll. This dude's fought so much in the last year and a half. He got a TKO win over Phil Haas. Then got another win over KO win over Brendan Allen, who's on a roll right now also. Got a decision unanimous win over Vieira. Also he lost his fight only to Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson is a top 10 fighter at middleweight. Middleweight. And then he won his last fight against Jaquin Buckley. I think that's how you say his name. Wayne Buckley. That was a nice TKO win. I was watching that fight live. This dude's got some heavy hands, and he's got good boxing also, and good volume. And he's gonna be fighting Kevin Gastelum. Kevin Gastelum has only lost to good fighters, top level fighters. Kevin Gastelum, after that Israel Adesanya loss, he just hasn't looked the same. Doesn't use his wrestling, just tries to strike with strikers. And he's coming back after a pretty big layoff. Hasn't fought in over a year and a half. He lost his fight to Jared Cannonier by unanimous decision. Then before last, Robert Whittaker, who's a top level middleweight fighter, last won his fight against Ian Hines by decision unanimous. Kevin Gastelum is the favorite right now. I'm surprised to see that he's the favorite. I'm gonna go with Chris Curtis here by decision. I don't think Kevin Gastelum has ever been knocked out in the UFC. Ever. This dude's got a solid chin. But if Kevin Gastelum does not mix his takedowns in this fight, I think it's gonna be a bad night for him. We're gonna go with the action man by decision here. He could get a late stoppage, but I feel like it's very unlikely. Kevin Gastelum is pretty durable. Okay, let's go to the next fight, guys. The next fight is Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. Both of these guys are prospects, big time prospects in bantamweight right now. Raul Rosas Jr. This kid is just amazing. Like, I'm very impressed by this kid. His grappling is on another level for how old he is. And he's only gonna improve from here. He is a minus 245 favorite against Christian Rodriguez. And I don't fault the bookies for making these odds. And the odds are only gonna go up from here for his next fights. So I'm gonna go with Rosas Jr. Christian Rodriguez does have good hands, good boxing. He got a win over, submission win over Joshua Weems, Anaconda choke. Lost his fight to Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan Pierce is a good fighter. Got a submission win on regional. Got a decision win over Junior Cortez on the Contender Series. And then got a TKO win over at the CFFC. Over a guy who's 4-2. Christian Rodriguez is 5-7 and has a 71-inch reach, while Rosas Jr. is 5-9, has a 67-inch reach. So Rodriguez does have 4 inches reach over Rosas Jr. But I don't think that's gonna be much of a difference. Rosas Jr. is gonna be he's gonna be taking him down over and over, and I do think he's gonna lock in submission here. Maybe round 2 submission, I feel like. Yeah, I feel like submission. I was gonna go with Rosas Jr. by decision, but I don't know. I feel like Raul Rosas Jr. is gonna be like much better here. He's gonna be improving much better from what I've seen him. His training footage on Instagram. So we're gonna go with I think from betting wise, Rosas Jr. If you don't want to bet on the winner, maybe go with over 1.5. I do think this fight is gonna go over 1.5 rounds. Rodriguez is a dog. I don't think he's gonna give up that easily. Rosas Jr. is gonna have to catch that neck or something. Okay, let's go to the next fight, guys. The next fight is Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Kevin Holland, man. This dude has really good grappling. I don't know why he was striking with Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson has lost all his fights to grapplers. All of them. And this dude goes in there and tries to strike with him. Then goes in for a takedown when he gets almost knocked out. Before he gets knocked out. And the ref steps in. Yeah. Kevin Holland is younger here. Ponzinibbio is 36 years old here. Kevin Holland is a taller fighter here at 6'3", and has a big reach advantage. Wow, 81 inches reach. While Ponzinibbio has a reach of 73 inches and is 6 feet tall. Um, I think Kevin Holland could win this fight. Only because Ponzinibbio is at the end of his career right now. He's been in a lot of wars. He's been knocked out a bunch of times. Not a bunch of times, like a couple times. He got knocked out by Li Jingliang, who's a pretty top level fighter, with a left hook. Then won his fight against Miguel by unanimous decision. Then got a win. Lost his fight to Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal is a good fighter. I was impressed by Jeff Neal against Shavkat Rakhmonov, even though he got finished in the last minute. Lost the fight to Miguel Pereira. And then just beat Alex Morono, who stepped in on short notice, I think. Took the fight. And then got knocked out in the last round. Ponzinibbio was losing that fight until he TKO'd, found the overhand right, and put Moreno out cold. That was a beautiful knockout. But I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland here. I do think he's gonna have to lock in a submission. I feel like his ground game is. I don't think Santiago Ponzinibbio has ever been submitted. I'm gonna go by decision. Yeah, Ponzinibbio is a dog. I don't think he's gonna give up in this fight. But I will say Kevin Holland is a way too big of a favor for me to bet on him on the money line. Maybe do Kevin Holland by decision, or Kevin Holland versus Ponzinibbio fight goes over 1.5 rounds. Let's go to the next fight, guys. Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez, this dude is a dog. That's all I need to say. Adrian Yanez got a win over Victor Rodriguez with a head kick TKO. Got a win over Gustavo Lopez. Got a win over Randy Costa. Randy Costa is a one-round fighter. This dude just like his gas tank goes to zero after the first round. Got a win over Davy Grant, split decision. That Davy Grant fight was pretty close. Then got a win over Tony Kelly. He's got good wins. I mean, he's getting finishes over these people, most of them. So he's doing what he's supposed to do. While Rob Font lost two of his last fights. One of them against Jose Aldo, and then lost his fight against Marlon Vera. Yeah, so Rob Font is not losing to some tomato cans out there. So, but Rob Font is climbing up there in age. He's 35, almost 36 years old. While Adrian Yanez is the up-and-comer prospect. Is 29 years old in his prime right now. Adrian Yanez is the favorite here, minus 180, while Rob Font is the plus 150 right now. I'm gonna go with Yanez by decision. Rob Font, he's got a pretty good chin. This dude is pretty durable. He's a good boxer. Doesn't kick too much, but he does have pretty good, nice jab. Does have a good jab on him. I do think he can jab Adrian Yanez here, but I feel like Rob Font kind of slows down in the later rounds, and that's where I see Adrian Yanez picking up the pace and winning by maybe a split decision or a unanimous decision here. Okay, let's go to the next fight, guys. Gilbert Durinho Burns versus Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. Masvidal. Masvidal is 38 years old right now. This dude, he's lost to the champions, other than Kobe Covington. He was doing pretty good in 2020. That he got a win over Ben Askren, that flying knee TKO win that we've all seen. Got a TKO win over Nate Diaz, Dr. Stoppis, and that was 3 years and 4 months ago. That was a long time ago. This dude got a win over anyone. Lost to Kamaru Usman by decision on short notice. Can't really blame him for that. But then he got a full camp, 3 months camp, and got knocked out clean. Then he lost to Kobe Covington by 50-45. That was just not a good look for Masvidal. I feel like in this fight, Burns is gonna just put the pace on this guy and just mix in his striking and his wrestling. Jorge does have a trouble with people that can mix in grappling and striking. He doesn't throw much strikes when you're taking him down over and over. I feel like Gilbert is gonna win here. He's a pretty big favorite, -500. I would do Burns by decision. I think Masvidal could survive the 3 rounds here. I will say Masvidal is always alive. The value is on Masvidal. This guy he's got pretty good striking, man. Does have pretty good power in his strikes. He could catch Gilbert here, but I feel like it's very unlikely. And the odds do reflect that. What I will say is the safest bet here is over 1.5 rounds. Or just do Gilbert by decision. Also Gilbert by submission. I think I am gonna sprinkle Gilbert by by submission, just for fun, but I feel like it's very unlikely. Masvidal, his ground game obviously isn't the best, but I have not seen him get submitted much in the UFC. He's been submitted in his early career, but I feel like he is taking this fight serious because he knows this is if he keeps losing fights like this, he's gonna be kicked out of the UFC pretty soon. And he knows this is his last chance. If he does get a win over Gilbert Burns, he could get a title shot against Leon Edwards. But I'm gonna go with Burns by decision here, guys. Okay, we're at the main event now, guys. Alex Poatan Pereira versus Israel, the last Stylebender Adesanya. Okay, guys, we all know what happened in the last 3 fights. Pereira, this dude is just way too powerful, man. This dude weighs at least 220 to 30 pounds on fight night. So he's basically like a light heavyweight fighting at middleweight. And he's always able to find his left hooks. I feel like in the first fight he was a little bit more hesitant to throw in the early rounds. But now that he knows he can sleep easy again in MMA, he's gonna come in with a more urgency. And I do have Pereira by TKO in round 3 here. Adesanya is a good fighter, man. I love to see him fight. But it's just not a good look when you're 3-0. I mean, you're 0-3 against a guy, and that can really mess up with your mind. I have seen his YouTube videos that he is training very very hard, but I feel like the size advantage and that left hook of Poatan, that dude is just, he only needs to land one left hook or one right hand and it's night night. Um, Israel is a younger fighter here, and both of them have the same reach. And I think Poatan is the taller fighter. When they're close together, I definitely think Poatan is a solid 6'4", while Israel Adesanya is like 6'3" something, 6'3" and a half maybe. So I'm gonna go with Pereira by knockout. If Pereira does win this fight, it's gonna be by knockout for sure. I just don't see Pereira outpointing Adesanya here. So for betting wise, I would go Pereira by TKO. You're gonna get good odds on him, since Israel Adesanya is the favorite again, which I'm surprised to see. Alright, guys. Let's do parlay, good parlay piece. Let's see here. Or I can just make another video for parlays. I'm just gonna make another one. Since this is my first predictions video on my channel, I'm gonna see how this video went for me. I don't know if my sound quality and everything is good yet or not. But let me know how you guys like my predictions, and comment down with your predictions. And if you don't agree with my predictions, you can always comment down and let me know. Alright, thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and good luck next weekend, guys. Bye bye.